The highly anticipated expansion for Destiny 2, The Witch Queen, is here, and with that, we have new weapons, new missions, and so much more. This will be a general discussion of my first impressions, what I've thought about, the first couple hours of the story, the quest, the new, free roaming zone. This will be my general impressions of the new quest, the story, and pretty much everything that has happened so far that I've gotten to experience. Although I haven't experienced everything in the story so far, this will be just my general feeling for where the direction of Destiny is heading. Let's get into it. So I think we'll start with the weapons. The weapons in this expansion definitely excite me a lot more than they did in Beyond Light. When Beyond Light launched, obviously with every new expansion, we get destination weapons, weapons that are thematic to the overall story, to the vibe, the feel. And if you guys remember them, they were these like kind of red and blue weapons. And to me, to this day, I gotta be honest, they looked like Nerf guns. Like they just didn't look or sound like realistic. They didn't give me that sci-fi feel that I really enjoy from some of the weapons that I've played with before. And like everything is obviously held to a standard for me of like Graviton Lance to this day, or like Telesto, or maybe even Sunshot, are weapons in this game that very much fit the sci-fi theme for me, and weapons that I feel like I wish they doubled down, at least in terms of art style or sound quality. But the Beyond Light weapons just didn't do it for me. They weren't hitting. But this expansion, I not only love the sound of the weapons, I love the theme of them, and I think that they did a really great job. I'll even show it to you right here. There's one weapon in particular I really like, Empirical Evidence. I love how everything in this expansion feels very evidence-based. It feels very like investigative, where you're like a detective, you're trying to figure out any clues that you can to figure out not what Savathun is up to. And I think it fits very well with Savathun as a theme, as a villain, right? Like her whole thing is about deception and being manipulative, and your whole thing is trying to get hard evidence that can pinpoint what exactly she's up to before she comes out with another scheme to trick you. And so I really like what they've done with that. I think that's a really cool concept, and I think in terms of the weapons, they very much fit well with this foreign environment, the throne world, and Savathun as a character. So I really like this. But Empirical Evidence, I think, is another strong evidence of just the theme. Like whoever's designing these weapons, like y'all, you need a promotion. This is now my gold standard. Like it's got some chemistry elements on it, like from the periodic table. Like it's got this like kind of chrome looking railing on top. Like the theme, the color, this light kind of almost baby blue aqua theme, I think is really nice. I think they did a great job with the weapon design. I don't have every weapon as of yet. I think this was the first one I actually got for this theme. But I'm excited to get the other ones. I think I'm definitely going to be trying to masterwork these. I think these are up there in terms of, these might even be up there in terms of the quality that I saw with Deepstone Crypts. Like that's kind of what I got the theme of, just a little bit, just in terms of it just looks clean. Like I want to put shaders on this, but at the same time, I also want to leave it the way that it is, but that's getting off on a tangent. Obviously, I will say that I love the weapons. I think the weapons look absolutely fantastic. I think they've done a great job. So that's my first impressions about the weapons. Now, first impressions, I gotta throw the story in there. The story so far, even for someone who hasn't finished it, I have found myself engaged in the story in a way that I really wasn't before. Like, in previous expansions, I didn't really care too much about the story. I love Destiny so much and I really enjoyed playing it, that it didn't really bother me that I didn't know about the story, because the gameplay to me felt so good, and getting these new god rolls and upgrading your weapons and trying out new builds and things like that, it all fits with what I love in the game. So for me, I didn't really care too much that I didn't understand the story. I felt like there's just so much going on, I wasn't going to understand the story, and that just is what it is. But in this whole thing about Savathun, I find myself actually really invested in the story in a way that I wasn't. And I don't know if this has anything to do with the hard mode, which we'll definitely touch on a little bit, or if it has something to do with just the general idea that that the story is just more compelling. I think whatever it is, this whole thing around Savathûn, I think is just more interesting than it was about the Eliksni and the Fallen and everything that was going on last year with Beyond Light. And Shadowkeep was another one where I just wasn't really invested. Was really excited to see Eris Morn come back, but in terms of other aspects of the story, and the moon was back, I thought that was cool. Other than those two components, I really didn't care too much about the story. But going into, you know, the Witch Queen, there's just something about the title. There's just something about the music. The music is also incredible. Some of the best scoring music that they've done in a long time. I think ever since like maybe Forsaken. Beyond Light, I definitely I enjoyed the music. I think the best part about Beyond Light was the music from the raid. And I really like the music that you get when you're in the orbit. I think that's really cool. But yeah, other than that, like, I think the music for this is just top tier. And so when you tack that on to what is already a very interesting, compelling story, it just makes it that much better. I really enjoy the fights. I've been really enjoying the moments within that feel more intense. Like you feel like there's something at stake. These Lucent Hive that now have access to something that has been so coveted as the light for a long time. This feels far better than it did with Gaul. Like when Gaul was able to pop your supers and stuff like that was a one and done. But this feels like it's going to be an interesting component that they're going to play on for at least the remainder of the Witch Queen's life cycle for the next year or so. So I'm very excited to see how that plays out. It's definitely going to change the game. I'd be interested to see if that was something that was thrown into Gambit or something like that. I think that would be really cool to have some of these Lucent Hives sometimes pop up, but it's probably a terrible idea. I don't think there needs to be any more overpowered enemies than there already are in Gambit, so we'll leave it at that. But all in all, I would say that the story is very good, that there are a lot of elements within the story that I really like, and I haven't even finished it yet, so I don't want to get too much into the story, as I'm sure there's more that I will have to say about it at the end, and maybe we'll do another video about that after that's all said and done. But from what I've seen in the first, couple hours of playing through the story and just doing some of the side missions to get some of these new weapons, I would say that the story is fantastic, and I haven't even finished it yet. But without even finishing it, I can already say that it is one of the best stories that Bungie has put together. So bravo to the story team, bravo to everyone that came up with this. Like the concept, the execution, the story, every mission feels important, and I actually found myself wanting to do the next mission. I was like, yo, I have to know what's about to happen. And I think that was really cool concept. I'm glad that they decided to go that route. Very, very impressive. So touching back on the weapons, the glaive is obviously the new weapon that they've been pushing for a while, that they've been wanting to hype up. It's this access where you can craft your weapons. You can do this whole thing and craft a glaive. I think that is really cool. I don't want to touch too much on that because I haven't gotten the exotic versions, but with what I've seen about it, I think it's going to be really good. And the fact that every class gets a very class specific glaive, I think was a very, very wise decision by Bungie. It increases the longevity, increases playability. I found myself wanting to already go into the story with my Titan and Hunter eventually later on to try to go through the story with them and get their exotic glaives and all that kind of thing. Very excited for that. The glaives are a really dope concept. It's one that even thinking about it when I'm using it, I'm like, yo, I can't believe this is a thing in this game. It's always been, guns, pow, 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 the occasional sword. And now it's like this thing that you can stab enemies with and then shoot and also guard. It's a very interesting approach in the best possible way. So I really enjoy that. In terms of the crafting system, my first impressions for the crafting system are that it feels a little complicated at first. Maybe I'm just not good at it. I'm still trying to learn how that works. Still trying to learn how it works in terms of getting like attunements. I think that just for what I can understand, it feels like it's just a random drop where certain weapons will drop with an attunement. You get kills with it, or you use that weapon in a mission or whatever, and you're able to choose one of two, I guess, rewards of materials that you'll need to craft other weapons. But I don't know if you have to use the weapon to have it be craftable later on. Not exactly sure. That's something I'm still trying to mess around with. But at first glance, I was like, oh, this is definitely going to be something where it's going to take a little bit of practice, right? Like in order to get into it. And like I said, maybe that's not the case for everyone, but that was the case for me. So, but I like the crafting system. I hope that as seasons go on, that they will continue to innovate on the crafting system. I want it to become a pinnacle part in Destiny. I think crafting is a really cool thing. It's a very positive step forward, and it doesn't take away from the value of RNG. It just creates another avenue for people who may have the resources to craft a weapon that they want and not have to do a strike 20 times in hopes that you might just get the roll that you're looking for. This, you grind some weapons, you get some materials, you put those materials to craft a weapon with the perks and the setup that you want. I think that is a really cool concept. So far, I love the crafting system. I think that's going to be a really positive thing that I hope that they innovate on. I'm still hoping that they will add the Black Armory weapons, if not now, at some point. The Black Armory weapons deserve to come back, and I really hope that they will take that into consideration and add those. Those are some of the coolest looking weapons in the entire game, in my opinion. And I think, like, if I could get my hands on my Timper Dynamo again, man, I'm telling you, yo, that was my favorite fusion rifle in the game. Like, I carry that thing everywhere, and it'd be awesome to see that come back. But obviously, when I opened the crafting system, that wasn't there, which is only a minor bummer, right? But it's okay. There's still hope. The crafting system now exists, and that produces a little bit of a glimmer of hope that it could potentially come into the game at some point in the future. But aside from the story and the music and the weapons, I like the Throne World. I think the Throne World is probably one of the most immersive and wide-spreading areas that Bungie has created. And I like how the missions, every mission feels like it just continues on. Like, you do a thing in the game, maybe fight a boss or whatever, and you beat the boss, you get, if you're doing the legendary version, you'll get 2 chests. And I think that was really cool. And then you just continue to progress. And it's like, I found myself going through this and being like, man, I can't believe that this world is still going. Like, we haven't reached the end. It's really nice the way they've done that, because when I remember Dreaming City, loved the Dreaming City, but it feels kind of small. I think that's why there's only one fast travel point. It's because you can get through the whole map in about 10 minutes, less than that. But this map, man, they really did the thing with this map. I find myself really enjoying the Throne World. I think it's both beautiful and necrotic at the same time. It's both elegant in its design, but also kind of creepy and mysterious and a little gothic, and I dig it. I absolutely dig it. In terms of the campaign as well, I want to talk about the legendary campaign. I think this is probably one of the best additions that they've done in a long time. Not only are the campaign missions replayable, but before you go into any campaign mission, you have the option to do a normal or a legendary. So you're not fully committed to it. If you decide to go through a couple of the missions and you get to one where you're like, I just can't beat this, then you can always go and do the classic version and come back to it later. Maybe if you have better weapons, better power, whatever that may be. And I think that's really cool. I really have been enjoying the challenge of the legendary campaign more than I thought I would. I like that there's no champions and obviously stuff like that because, well, you don't have the artifact, but it's still challenging in itself. It makes me wonder, man, if they were to add champions and things like that, we'd be looking at an entirely different ball game. But at least for now, I really like everything that they've done with the legendary campaign, and I can't wait to finish it. Now, obviously, I'll get into more of a discussion about the exotic weapons and some of my thoughts on those. I'm really excited to get Osteostriga. That's one thing I've been super pumped about, and we'll definitely get into that obviously a little bit later on. But for now, I've really been enjoying the story. I've really been enjoying this season, and I think it's been a really positive experience. But let me know down in the comments below what you guys think about the season so far. What do you think about the expansion? What has been your favorite part so far that you would love to talk about? I'll be looking for your comments down in the comment section. Drop a like on this video if you did enjoy it. It greatly helps out the channel, helps out the video, and all that good stuff. And if you want more discussions from me, let me know what you'd love to see me touch on, and I'll be sure to try to make a video about that. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys are safe. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.